So, first thing we want to talk about, right? First thing first, we got to acknowledge and show some love, give some flowers to the Splash Brother who has made his return. Klay Thompson made his debut debut this season after 941, some wild number, like some absolutely wild number. Klay Thompson has been out for so long. We all know the story. He went down with the ACL injury, and then while he was working on recovering from the ACL injury, tears his Achilles. So he's been out for basically 2.5 seasons. It's absolutely crazy because the last time he played, and we'll get into the Memphis Warriors game in a second, and even his debut game. Who did they play in his debut? I should know this off the top of my head, but I ain't gonna hold you. I don't. But he hasn't played in so long that the last time he played, John Morant wasn't in the league. Like, it's really been a long time since we've seen Klay Thompson hoop. And it was just really nice to see him back. Now, my thoughts on, they play against the Cavaliers. That's right. My thoughts on his actual performance, I'm not really trying to nitpick. I think he played okay. I think he was forcing it at times, which is completely understandable if you ask me. I think because of how they are bringing him back, these 5-minute intervals, 5 minutes at the beginning of every quarter, I believe that's how it was. He's going to have some rust, which is completely understandable. He's going to have some moments where it feels like, he's missing shots that he probably would have made in the past. Once again, that's completely understandable. But I'm liking what I'm seeing because the Warriors allowed him to just hoop. Like, the Warriors knew he was going to come out shot chucking to an extent. Like, and I don't mean shot chucking in a bad sense. I don't want Klay Thompson and Warrior stands coming in here hating me. But he was shot chucking a little bit. They knew he was going to want to get his shots up. They knew he was going to touch the ball a lot. They knew he was going to want to try to get back in the rhythm, and I'm not mad at that. I think he'll get back in rhythm just fine, to be completely honest with you. And I think he's going to make the Warriors a whole lot scarier than they have been. And I think he's actually coming at a perfect time. Because if you look at I can tell you right now, if you look at the Warriors, I don't want to say they've been in a slump lately, but I will say I don't think they've been playing to the level that a lot of us expected them to be playing at in the month of January and the month of December. I think we saw Steph fall into a little bit of a slump right before he broke the record. He was having I think he was just in a slump because he wanted to break the record. And I mean, the Warriors, don't get me wrong, they're still winning most of their games, but they're losing. They lost a couple of games here and there. Their net rating and offensive rating isn't as high as it was earlier in the season. That's what I mean when I say I feel like they're slowing down a little bit. Maybe I say coming back to a mean, coming down in terms of their high level play that they started the year out with. But at the end of the day, they are still playing really, really, really good basketball. Because right now they are. Where's my favorite stat? Team miscellaneous. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. They still have the number one defense, and I don't think that's going to change. Honestly, I think Klay Thompson can only make their defense go up. Like, I don't see their defense being any worse with Klay Thompson. I only see it getting better. Somehow I got rid of my Google Voice tab. Sorry, guys. When you've been out for a little bit, you a little rusty. You take 1 week off, and it feels like everything you do gets a little difficult. But with that being said, we are going to open up the phone lines. Phone number is on the screen, 609-365-0382. Once again, 609-365-0382. Gives you an opportunity to call in, join the show, share your hot takes, and be a part of the conversation. But yeah, like I was saying, Browns are making calls. Like I was saying, the Warriors, their offense has, I'll say, slowed down. I don't want to say it's not as good as it used to be. I'll just use the phrase it's slowed down. They're currently the 12th ranked in terms of offensive rating. They still have the number 1 ranked defense in the league. And I think, to me, that's the sign that the Warriors are more so of a championship contenders than their offense. A team that plays really good defense will always be championship contenders in my book. Maybe not always championship contenders, but a team that plays lockdown, legitimate defense will always be a really, really good playoff team. And if you have the ability to put a good offense with that, the good defense as well. Wait, I can call in and join the hot takes? Yes. Somebody asked me on TikTok, can you call in? Yeah, if you go to the link in my bio, watch the YouTube, go to my YouTube. I'm currently live on YouTube right now. It has a number that you can call in, talk to me, and be a part of the live show on YouTube. And I think the fact that their offensive rating has slumped a little bit compared to what it was at the beginning of the season. At one point, they were a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. Their offense has taken a step back. However, I think Klay Thompson being there gives them the ability to turn up the offense a little bit. Like, for lack of a better phrase, I don't have an easier way to say it. I think he'll add so much to this offense. I think he'll take some pressure off of Steph. And I think once Draymond is back as well, I think that'll fully unlock Klay. Thoughts on Dirk? I mean, Dirk's one of the best power forwards of all time. That's my thoughts on Dirk Nowitzki. He's one of the best power forwards of all time. And so Klay Thompson being back and is big for the Warriors. But you know what's also really big for the Warriors? And I don't think it's going to be a complete game changer for them, but I think it could really help them and be an X factor potentially for them. And I really see it coming in handy in the playoffs, potentially against a team like the Phoenix Suns. The fact that James Wiseman isn't back yet, I feel like we've completely forgot about James Wiseman. I'll be honest. I went on record before and said I really wasn't expecting much out of James Wiseman. I'll still don't expect him to be a complete game changer, but I'm looking forward to having him on. We got a call coming in. Thank you for calling Hawks Hoops. This is Hawk. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? Oh, did they hang up? Oh, we about to call them back then. They called and then they hung up before I could even. Nah, we call them back. Why not, right? Oh, hold on. Welcome to Hawks Hoops. I think I just missed a call. Who did I miss? No, I didn't miss a call. Hello? Hold on one second. I can kind of hear you, but not fully. How about now? Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What's up, Walker? It's Gabe.
What's good, G? How you doing? Thank you for calling in. What's good with you?
Nothing much. Just chilling. I was watching the show live, and I heard you talking about the Warriors. You know, the team I don't like, but making very true points, nonetheless. Now I was talking about that a little bit, and then ask you about some other stuff about Sixers related. But now just a couple of comments on the Warriors, like you were saying. I always forget like James Wiseman isn't even back yet, and
Exactly.
I'm like, they're about to get back. Klay, you know what I mean? Draymond, James Wiseman, and I'm looking at everybody else around the league, and I'm like, do we really have an answer for the Warriors when they're fully healthy? I don't know if there's an answer for the Warriors fully healthy. There's barely an answer for the Warriors right now.
Yeah, a fully healthy Warriors team. I don't know if there's an answer for that.
I don't think there is. So I'm looking at it like, I mean, if everything goes well, I believe Klay can just mesh right back in. I don't think there should be a problem. James Wiseman,
yep.
I don't know if he'll really take a step forward this year, but I mean, as long as he is, you know, I mean, what he's supposed to be, or just half of what he's supposed to be, I think they're fine. Honestly, I don't know if anybody's going to beat them out of that shit this year.
Yeah, and the thing that's so interesting to me, one, I agree. Klay Thompson, he'll be back. He'll be back to normal. I think he'll be fine. Also, I don't think he's really going to be taking any minutes away from like crazy people. He's going to take a couple minutes from like Jordan Poole. He's going to take a couple minutes from Minton, Gary Payton II. Like, these aren't, I mean, they're good guys, don't get me wrong, but it's not like, oh snap, he's taking minutes from a superstar. Like, it's Klay Thompson. You're going to give him his minutes.
You wouldn't even notice a change. Yeah,
exactly.
You wouldn't even notice a change.
And then in terms of James Wiseman, I don't think they're going to start him right away, but I think he could be huge coming off the bench. And if he turns into a potential starter, like, then throw him in the starting lineup. But I think, I was saying right before you called, I think he's going to be great in the playoffs, specifically against a team like the Phoenix Suns. When we get in the playoffs, by that time he should be warm, and they got a big body in DeAndre Ayton. James Wiseman has been matches up with DeAndre Ayton very, very well, and I'm looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I've been looking forward to. I think that's going to be Western Conference Finals, personally.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Even depending on their seeding, they may not, but I think that's going to be the best series, period, in the Western Conference. I don't think there's anything really else, to look out for besides those two teams.
What's the Sixers' thoughts you
another
said?
Thing, listening to Philadelphia talk shows today, very frustrating.
Spending too much time listening to WIP.
Basically, I was listening to Woj had a little segment. They asked him, was there any movement on the whole Ben Simmons thing? Basically chuckled, and it was pretty much like, no, they're not accepting basically anything that's offered. Then there's a lot of rumors talking about they may try to couple in Tobias Harris, which makes two huge contracts, but they're going to be willing to eat some of the cost of the contracts to move them. And I'm like, I don't understand what you plan on getting back. Like, Tobias is extremely overpaid, and everybody understands why you're trying to move on from him.
Yeah.
I mean, there is interest in Ben Simmons, but they're not interested in giving you a superstar for Ben Simmons because in their mind, he's slightly overpaid too for what he's bringing. So it's like you're trying to trade, technically speaking, two overpaid contracts in hopes of a Damian Lillard or a James Harden signing trade. Like, that doesn't really – I don't see that's going to happen. So my thing is, you're trying to reach for the stars. In the meantime, the best center in the league, in my opinion, his body is riding away every year after year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you got a window here, you got to make the best of it. And if you don't, the Sixers are going to become what they were in the beginning of the Brett Brown era of where they end up right back in that situation.
They're going to end up in mediocrity.
Joel's body is completely gone. You're going to end up sitting around, playing around with Ben, getting trashed. You're not going to get anything back for Tobias Harris. And you're just going to end up being the old Sixers, which is, I hate to see it. Because the process was crappy at first, but it started to look like it was brutal. So it's like
it's crazy to think that this how close the Sixers felt back in 2018 versus where we are now when we had Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick and Kawhi hit that wild shot, and ever since then I feel like it's been downhill. That's the closest we've ever been to a real championship team to me, and we ain't been close since.
No, because I think we made the stupid decision to get rid of Jimmy Butler and then, giving Tobias Harris a lot of money. I would, despite attitude or, problems in the locker room, Jimmy Butler, he was your biggest piece in that playoffs.
Yep.
I just don't understand why you got rid of the man who literally dragged you through the playoffs, and he hit all the game time shots, the closers, all when you needed a bucket and, in low minutes. He was there. He gave you the buckets. I just don't. It doesn't make sense on why you didn't sign him. Even if you wanted 5 years, it's okay to have 3 good years out of somebody and then 2 years that aren't so great. Move them.
Hey, you know what's a perfect example of that? The Phoenix Suns. They signed and gave Chris Paul all that money, and because they knew they were going to get a couple good seasons out of him. The last 2 might be a little shaky, but we see an opportunity right now to try to win. Let's give this man his money now.
Exactly. Give it to him. Get the first 3 good years out of him, the first 2 good years, and then the other 2, it is what it is. If you want to move on from him, if you just want to say, hey, can you just mentor our younger guys? It's how it works. And to me, it's just with the Sixers right now, Daryl Morey, I don't know if his interest is really the best for the Sixers, or is he just like, hey, I want to be a GM of the year and I want to pull off a blockbuster trade. I'm just like, is what you're doing going to benefit the Sixers? Because right now you have Joel Embiid playing MVP level, but you're not going out and help he needs right now. Because Joel Embiid doesn't have 5 more years at this level. He doesn't. I think he has at top. If you ain't doing that in the next 3 years, you're wasting his time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It just doesn't make sense.
I would agree with that. They definitely got to figure something out. And packaging Tobias Harris with Ben Simmons, I agree with you. I don't think it's wise. I don't think it's possible, to be really honest with you.
$80 million for the 2 players, whatever they're making together.
Yeah.
We'll probably, $40, $50 million together in a year. It just
them together, it's probably about $40 million a year. Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But that's all the 2 points I wanted to call in and talk to you about.
Appreciate you for calling in, bro.
All right.
So, he brought us some really good points. He brought up some really, really good points. One, closing up the Warriors stuff, and then I'm going to talk about the Sixers. Kind of got a couple more things to say about that. Warriors are going to be scary. James Wiseman's coming back. Klay's coming back. Well, Klay's back. Wiseman has to come back. When Draymond plays with this team as well, it's going to be scary. Keep your eye on the Warriors. Continuing on to that Sixers conversation, I also heard that same news that basically Woj said, if you couldn't hear what G was saying, Woj said that the Sixers aren't making any progress. There have been no new news. There's no new news. There's been no new progress. The Sixers are kind of just stuck in terms of moving Ben Simmons. And now you find out that the Sixers might want to add Tobias Harris to this deal. It makes no sense to me. And a lot of people could say, oh, yeah, well, they can do a 3-team trade. They can do a 3-team trade. I've seen that a lot on Twitter. You know how hard it is to pull off a 3-team trade? If it was easy to pull off a 3-team trade, we would see more of them. 3-team trades don't happen every trade season. You don't even see them every year, every offseason. And especially not necessarily with huge names. It's not impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. Very, very difficult.